streets. That's all I know, so that's how I'ma spit it. I flip the game, you know. I got 25 guns on my. I got 3 riding with me, come from my real street. Dealing with. I'm telling you some gangster. I got it off the.
Did King Von really deserve the title of rap's first serial killer? That's what some people claim. But real ones know the South had already seen something way darker long before Von was even born.
Nah, you get involved with foolish, you might go through that thing you can't handle. I ain't gonna tell you no word lie.
Before drill music, before O-Block, before rap beefs turned into scoreboards, there was Soulja Slim, a New Orleans legend whose street rap wasn't just for show. He lived every bar he rapped. And if you haven't heard about it, that's because he never had to brag, unlike today's so-called gangster rappers.
The real Magnolia right here. Yeah, what you see on TV and what you be seeing with them other cats be doing.
And when we say lived, we mean he allegedly had at least 15 confirmed bodies, with his shooter handling business when he wasn't doing it himself. So was Soulja Slim the real first rapper to fit the definition of a serial killer? Let's get into it. First, let's get this out of the way. King Von's name has been thrown around as rap's first serial killer, especially after a recent full breakdown on his alleged body count. But here's the thing, Von wasn't unique in what he did. He was just the first in the social media era to have his work documented in real time. Back in the 90s and early 2000s, rappers weren't dropping Instagram posts after a hit. There were no tweets, no live updates, just word of mouth, street rumors, and coded lyrics. And when it comes to body count, the numbers surrounding Von range from 6 to 10, but Soulja Slim? People in New Orleans still debate whether his count was 5 or 15. And unlike Von, Slim was active before he even picked up a mic, doing dirt in New Orleans East, the Magnolia Projects, and wherever else the streets called it.
That W over making the M, we in that Magnolia, put it down, third one, you heard? I got him right here.
Soulja Slim wasn't just another rapper with a rough past. He was feared, respected, and allegedly deadly in ways even Von couldn't match. James Tapp Jr., better known as Soulja Slim, was born into the struggle in Magnolia Projects, one of the deadliest neighborhoods in New Orleans. By the time he was in his early teens, he had already started catching charges, armed robberies, drug dealing, and street violence. Slim's rap sheet was as real as it gets. His reputation wasn't just built off small-time hustling. Word on the streets is that he had his first body at 17. The story goes that a man tried to steal Slim's stash, and instead of letting it slide, he allegedly made him disappear on Tara Lane in New Orleans East. From that moment on, Slim was feared. But unlike most street dudes, Slim didn't just move alone. He had an enforcer, a young shooter named B Stupid. B Stupid was a walking nightmare in the streets. By the age of 15, he had already been arrested 14 times. At 16, he caught his first official murder charge, but he wasn't done yet. He was part of the Dooney Boys, a clique that specialized in eliminating their opposition. And just like Slim, B Stupid didn't hesitate to handle business. In fact, he beat 3 different murder cases before finally going down for manslaughter. And here's where things get real. Slim wasn't just getting active in the streets himself. If he didn't do it, B Stupid did. They were a deadly duo, and together they developed a fearsome reputation in New Orleans. Unlike most rappers who cap in their songs, Slim didn't need to lie. He was already known for putting in work before rap ever paid him $1. And his lyrics? They were like a confession booth. In his track, My Jacket, Slim openly talked about catching a body on Tara Lane, the same street where people claim he put in real work.
My jacket consists of batteries on robberies, pistol charges, and murder.
His song You Hear That was filled with direct references to retaliation and war in the streets. And in I'm a Fool, he straight up told his ops that he had no problem handling business personally.
My bullet, my 30-round clip, I'm never leaving home without it.
And unlike a lot of rappers who pretend to be, Slim's ops and homies confirmed his past. By the time Slim was reaching his prime, he was getting ready to change his life. He had just dropped Slow Motion, a track that would later become a #1 hit after his death. But even with fame and money coming in, Slim couldn't escape his past. On the morning of November 26, 2003, Thanksgiving Eve, Slim was in high spirits. His career was on fire, his name was dominating the airwaves, and he just received the finished cut of a music video for his track Love Me Not. That video was supposed to be the launch pad for the next phase of his career, a project he planned to celebrate with friends in his apartment music studio later that day.
So he had just showed, everybody was just seeing the video and talk about how good the video was.
Either you love me or you love me not. He had just dropped it off. So I don't even believe Slim even got to watch it.
But first, Slim had some errands to run. As the evening approached, he climbed into his silver Cadillac Escalade, a ride that was as recognizable as he was, decked out with a TV, a digital CD player, and seats engraved with his record label's Cutthroat logo. What Slim didn't know was that assailants had been watching him, waiting for the perfect moment to make their move. Meanwhile, on the other end, his family was preparing to gather for what was supposed to be a joyful, family-filled evening. His mother and sister, Project Barbie, were just a few minutes away from his house, chatting and enjoying the day before heading over.
Aunt lives probably 6-7 minutes from us, and we all talked.
Slim's 8-year-old son, Lil Soulja Slim, and his son's mother were also on their way, packing up for the trip to join everyone.
Packing up, we was on our way to New Orleans for Thanksgiving. Mississippi, where we stayed at, was like an hour and 15.
Earlier that day, Slim had spoken to his father, who'd picked up a new pair of shoes for him, adding to the excitement of what was shaping up to be a warm Thanksgiving celebration. But everything was about to take a devastating turn. Everyone thought it was just gonna be another normal day, filled with music, family, and celebration. Soulja Slim was busy handling his errands, some of which were tied to a show he had later that night in Monroe. Riding with him was his friend Jigg Star, who was helping coordinate the final touches for the event. The plan was simple. Jigg Star and a few others would pick up their outfits for the show while Slim took care of other business. But a snag came up. The person providing the clothes refused to hand them over without payment, having been burned on a deal before.
We went to the store because I took Trinity. He actually was spooked of us, so he really think we're trying to play it because we ain't paying for the last we got, but
Slim had to step in to smooth things over, so Jigg Star went on to get food, while Slim went ahead with his other errands after he grabbed the clothes. This seemingly small delay created the perfect window for Slim's enemies, who had been watching and waiting for their chance.
grab the come back and whoever was around there, you know what I'm saying, to do their thing.
At about 5:45 p.m., Slim returned to his house on LaFay Street, the same house he'd bought for his mom. He parked his silver Escalade out front, leaving the door open and the engine running. As he stepped out, an assailant emerged and fired several shots, hitting Slim multiple times. Jigg Star, rushing back to the house, slammed on the brakes when he saw Slim lying on the ground. He later described the horrifying scene. Slim had gunshot wounds to his face and chest, and blood was everywhere.
I pull up so fast with my I'm outside now. So when he spin the bend back round, that's what dude had to be to do their thing.
A nearby neighbor reported hearing about 5 shots and called 911 immediately. At the same time, another one of Slim's friends was driving to the house when a car sped past him in the opposite direction. Only later, when he arrived at the scene, did he realize the speeding car was the getaway vehicle.
I wasn't actually there when the shots went off.
By then, the front yard was chaotic. Neighbors, friends, and family were gathering, trying to help Slim as he lay bleeding on the ground.
That's when I saw Slim was laying on the ground and other people around him trying to help him.
Fortunately, at the time, Slim was still conscious. He couldn't speak but was clearly in pain, moving his hands toward his mouth as if trying to dislodge something.
When he was on the ground, he was still trying to reach in his mouth, like something was in his mouth.
A bullet that struck his face may have shattered his teeth, causing him to struggle, but there was another layer of tension in the air. Slim's lifestyle, along with that of his crew, meant the house was full of firearms and other items that could draw the attention of law enforcement. Knowing the police would arrive soon, panic set in. While they couldn't move Slim because of his injuries, many began scattering, fearing they'd get caught up in legal trouble. Amid the chaos, one of Slim's closest friends, 6-Shot, was called with the news. He was at a shopping center at the time and immediately rushed to the house. When he arrived, he found Slim lying on the lawn surrounded by people trying to make sense of what had just happened.
I was actually at Carrollton Shopping Center. I got a phone, Slim on the lawn.
What started as a day filled with promise and celebration had ended in tragedy, marking the moment New Orleans and the hip-hop world lost one of its brightest stars. As the tragic reality set in at the scene, Soulja Slim's friends were scrambling to make sense of the chaos. But for his family, who were all en route to spend what should have been a joyful day with him, the news was only just beginning to spread. The ripple effect of calls and messages started with Slim's son's mother, who was driving toward New Orleans with their young son, Lil Soulja Slim, in tow. When the first calls came through, she was told that Slim had been shot. At first, she wasn't overly alarmed. This wasn't the first time Slim had been shot. He'd been through it before and come out alive. But as the calls kept coming, the gravity of the situation became clear. Then the radio delivered the devastating confirmation that shattered any remaining hope. Soulja Slim had passed away. For Slim's sister, the sequence of events was eerily similar. She also got word that her brother had been shot, but like many others, she brushed it off initially. Slim had built a reputation for being tough, seemingly indestructible, surviving street battles that would have claimed others long ago. But when she heard the severity of the situation, panic set in. Without wasting a moment, she grabbed her cousin and headed straight to the scene, leaving ahead of their mother. Their mother, Linda Tapp, was still at a relative's house when the news reached her. Unlike others, she didn't wait for further confirmation. She bolted out of the house in a frenzy, running with the kind of desperation only a mother fearing for her child could muster. By the time Slim's family arrived on LaFay Street, the grim truth was laid bare in front of them. Soulja Slim was lying lifeless on the ground, his body twisted unnaturally. His hands were crossed in an irregular way, as if frozen mid-motion, a haunting image that burned itself into the memories of everyone there. When his mother arrived, the scene was too much to bear. She broke down completely, collapsing to the ground as the weight of what had happened hit her like a tidal wave. The man who had been larger than life, the one who had faced everything the streets could throw at him and survived, was now gone. The sight of him motionless, surrounded by the people who loved him, was a brutal, heartbreaking confirmation of the unthinkable. The shock rippled through the city almost instantly, spreading like wildfire. Soulja Slim wasn't just a rapper, he was a figure who embodied the raw, unfiltered energy of New Orleans. For his fans, his loss was devastating, but for those who knew him personally, it was a wound that cut even deeper. As the city mourned, the focus shifted to finding who was responsible. Slim had no shortage of enemies, and his unapologetic gangster lifestyle meant there were plenty of people who might have wanted him gone. He lived his life in the crosshairs, fully aware of the risks but never backing down. Even as the list of those who might come for him grew longer, one name in particular began to circulate as whispers turned into rumors. Some speculated that Master P, the CEO of No Limit Records and a former collaborator, might somehow be connected to Slim's death. The streets love their conspiracies, and given the history between Slim and the label, it wasn't hard for people to connect the dots, whether they were real or imagined. Master P, known for his own tough persona and business acumen, had once been closely tied to Slim during the No Limit days, but their relationship wasn't without its tension. And in a world where loyalty and betrayal often blur together, suspicions naturally arose. Plenty of people, including some of Soulja Slim's own family members, started pointing fingers at Master P. The theory went that he was wealthy enough to bankroll the hit, and there had been bad blood between the two stemming from financial issues back when Slim was signed to his record label. Things got even messier when Slim's sister took to social media to vent her frustrations, accusing Master P of mistreating her brother and even suggesting he was involved in other violent incidents. But Slim's son, Lil Soulja Slim, didn't buy into the rumors. According to him, while the relationship between his dad and Master P wasn't perfect, it wasn't bad enough to warrant something as extreme as M-Dad.
A lot going on, people was like, man, Master P my dad and all this and that, but first of all, my dad and P had a small misunderstanding. Wasn't nothing, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It really...
Instead, he hinted that the K-ing was a hit, and through word on the street and connections in the area, he had a pretty clear idea of who was actually behind it.
It wasn't like, oh yeah, we was beefing with dude. It wasn't no Tupac situation, you feel me?
It was
just by me growing up the way I grew up in the streets of New Orleans, I ended up finding out on my own, you know what I'm saying?
While the streets buzzed with speculation about Master P, Investigators were chasing another lead, and for a moment, it seemed like they had their man. Just over a month later, on New Year's Eve 2003, police arrested 22-year-old Garrell Smith in connection with Slim's M-Dare. The case against Smith seemed solid at first. Officers found a stolen pistol with the serial number scratched off in his possession. Ballistics testing later confirmed that the bullets fired from that gun matched the ones that offed Soulja Slim. The story didn't stop there. Reports claimed the M-Dare was a contract K-ing carried out for a $10,000 payment. To make matters even darker, the gun, a .40 caliber Glock semi-automatic, was traced back to a New Orleans police officer's home where it had been stolen. For a brief moment, it looked like justice might finally be served. But then the case hit a wall. With no witnesses willing to testify, the charges against Smith were dropped and he walked free. This wasn't the first time Smith had faced accusations of M-Dare and slipped through the cracks. He was a notorious figure on the streets, rumored to be a hitman and enforcer who operated strictly within his neighborhood. Smith's luck eventually ran out. In August 2011, he became a victim of gun violence himself, marking the end of his reign as one of New Orleans' most feared street figures. Even after his death, the story didn't die down. Many in the community doubted that Smith was the real killer. The prevailing theory among locals was that Smith may have simply been in possession of the M-Dare weapon, but the actual shooter was someone else entirely. One name that keeps coming up in the endless swirl of rumors is that of a high-profile record label owner and gangster, allegedly seeking revenge for the gruesome M-Dare of a man named Robert Lee Page Jr., a crime many believe Soulja Slim had been involved in. Soulja Slim was on the verge of something truly massive in the world of hip-hop. In fact, there were whispers that a major deal with G-Unit could have been in his future. With his raw delivery and unapologetic style, it seemed like nobody could stop him. Well, until they actually did. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.